Previously on agentpalmer.com, despite time gap, brand gap still holds relevant marketing truths. An addiction to coloring books lent itself well to a blind date, and since last episode, I've just continued to be more and more comfortable acknowledging not having goals. This is the Palmer Files, episode 179, featuring the long-awaited return of Geoffrey Welchman from all the way back on episode 7. We discuss his complete journey back to music after the end of the Reigning Lunatic, plus we talk about playing bass, young person music prejudices, local music scenes, and much more. Are you ready? Let's do the show!
I found that it was really easy to play behind people, and I enjoyed it. Back in the day, I was not somebody who wanted to play along with other people. I just wanted to do my songs with my band and have them play what I told them to play. Hey, I'm starting a Beatles band. Do you want to join? And I said, yes, of course. The best audiences are always little kids and old folks. That was the reason I became a bass player, because a bass became available.
Hello and welcome to the Palmer Files. I'm your host, Jason Stershik, also known as Agent Palmer, and on this 179th episode is the long-awaited, at least by me, return of the reigning lunatic himself, Geoffrey Welchman. Of course, he's not here to discuss podcasting. He's here to talk about what he's done since that miniseries. His journey back to music starts with a polite shove from his wife, and well, you'll hear what transpired since. Plus, wanting to be a Beatle, open mics, a bunch of oldies playing oldies, parents and children and music, and much more. But first, remember that if you want to discuss this episode as you listen or afterward, you can find all related ways to contact Geoffrey and myself in the show notes. Don't forget, you can see all of my writings and rantings on agentpalmer.com, and of course, email can be sent to thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. So without further ado, let's get into it. Geoffrey, you will always be the reigning lunatic to me.
Thank you.
I want to establish that right off the bat, and I address you as sire in every email missive in the last 7 years.
That's true. You do.
Because it feels like you need that kind of I need to show that kind of respect.
You and almost no one else, but thank you. Thank you. Loyal subject.
And I know that personally I have badgered you about more reigning lunatic, but that aside, you have very successfully from afar been a band member. Mm-hmm. Kind of gigging around. So you've traded in your podcast for your gigging band stuff, and so you're still getting your creative outlet in. Is it equally as fulfilling as making me laugh?
It's well, that's a pretty high bar, isn't it, Agent? It's a great outlet. Actually, it's a different outlet. I don't write anymore the way I used to. I don't write songs as much. I do occasionally write a song, and I haven't written a podcast script or that kind of idea in years. But luckily at my job, I kind of do write scripts because I'm in training and I do a lot of e-learnings. And so what is training but sort of, presenting a scenario and saying, how do you deal with it?
Yeah.
And so I get to make kind of cartoons with voices. I've been doing narration and stuff for the company for years now. So much that people actually recognize my voice when I'm talking at the company. They're like, oh, I just took a training about harassment. I recognize your voice. And so, although with AI coming in, AI voices are replacing me completely, which is kind of freaky. But so I do get to write occasionally, like little sort of sketchy kind of bits for that job, and that's kind of my creative writing outlet. But
okay.
As far as creativity, I mean, the music. I wanted to be a Beatle since I was 4, and it vexed me to no end that I didn't become famous on the steam of my own songs and performing. And I continued to not become famous as I sort of changed and went in different directions and moved across the country and blah, blah, blah. But now I am playing Beatles music. I am literally playing the Beatles for people. And when I started playing in this cover band, I was just like so blown away that people just welcome this music because it's so beloved.
Yeah.
You see people light up when you start playing something like Get Back or whatever it is. A Ticket to Ride, Two of Us. Lots of great songs. Something gets a great reaction. But you're playing stuff that people already love, so you're over the hump of whether they like it or not.
Okay.
Whereas when I was playing my own stuff, I had occasional fans, but it was so hard. That's the thing about playing music, and especially original music. It was hard to get people around to care a lot, and so yeah. Now it's just pure joy. We play music. I play bass for this band. It's called Hey Bulldog. We're in Baltimore. I know there's another Hey Bulldog Beatle band in New Jersey because I've texted with them on Instagram, started following them, and said, "Hey, how are you? We're in Baltimore, but we won't be up your way. Don't worry." And
so are you officially, I mean, are you also the Paul when it comes to singing, or?
Oh, no. Just listen to me. I I am a George probably in Ray. No, actually his voice was higher too. They were all higher singers and of course McCartney had the craziest range ever. Yeah. So no, I sing occasional Paul songs, but mostly I'm doing John and George stuff.
So
yeah.
I've talked about this on the show, but not in detail really, I'm currently, as we record, on my third musical journey.
Do tell.
My first musical journey included the Beatles, and it was basically like a list of 20 formative bands that either were formative to me or were formative to the bands. Like, as an example, say like Aerosmith was pretty big for me and Guns N' Roses were pretty big for me, but who influenced them? So it was, and it was just I was just trying to learn more musically. Right. And it was the Stones and the Beatles and like Frank Zappa and the band, places where like I knew I liked these, Dylan, like I knew I liked these people and these artists, but I didn't know everything. And so the idea was I'd take 20 people, 20 bands, artists, and I'd listen to every album in the order it was released. So really? I got to hear, what the Stones were doing and what the Beatles were doing in 1968. Right. Yeah. And then, and how that was playing off of what Dylan was doing. I'm now on my third journey, because I listen, in doing this, I listen to about one album a day, sometimes two or three. When I'm in my third journey now, is trying to fill in some gaps I have as far as like some 70s music of I try not to make any journey more than 500 albums, which is a lot when know, but I'm also trying to fill in some of my 90s gaps as well. And so the interesting thing about doing this is like I do get to listen to an album, one a day. Again, in the 60s and 70s, I can listen to about two because I can get an hour, and a lot of those are in that 35 to 40 range. When you get to the 80s, especially in the last two journeys I've had, it's been very weird as far as like, people just did longer things because they could. And some of them were able to work within like Bowie was able to work within the space, but sometimes it doesn't quite work out. Right. And so I have a greater appreciation for the Beatles, that I loved Revolver and I loved Sgt. Pepper. I couldn't have named, like, outside of the hits. I didn't know that much. And this was my first time. And obviously this is all in the last few years, or maybe longer. I don't know, but it feels like it's all been the last few years. So I'm an adult while I'm listening to this stuff. So I have a greater appreciation and as a person who dabbles in music, a greater appreciation for what I'm listening to. And it has allowed me to create my own personal radio station based on only including albums that I think are track perfect. And
is there like a Spotify thing? Or,
I just if I think an album is track perfect, I will just add the entire album to that playlist, and then I'll randomly play it, and that's what I call Palmer AM.
Wow, I hesitate to say I have 2 albums on Spotify.
But it's amazing how people are like, well, what's that? Like 10 albums? I'm like, no, I'm over 100 track perfect albums. Cause I find that
I have 2 recorded, 2 albums I recorded.
Well,
are on Spotify.
All right. Well, then I'm going to have to, you'll be on my next musical journey then.
I hope that's a good thing. I hope you like them.
But it's been kind of this thing where I'm rediscovering my own love of music. And that's kind of where it started. I wanted a reason. It's a lot of, I'll be honest, it's a lot of work to come up with the bands, find all the albums, then put them in a spreadsheet and put it in chronological order. A lot of things are not very well documented. This came out in June of 1970. When? I don't know. Some of them are just like, this came out in 1970. Yeah. When? And you're like, but after that's all done, I have officially banished the scrolling problem of what do I listen to? I have a list. While I'm in a journey, I always have a list. This is the album I'm listening to today. I always try and hit one. And ironically, it hasn't made me necessarily want to pick up my instruments more. But I do like listening to music more. I don't know if that's because I'm listening to more of it or what. I do try and pick up an instrument every day. Not necessarily to practice. Sometimes I'm noodling. Sometimes my child loves listening. Well, smiles when I pick up the guitar. Yeah. Is very happy for like the first few chords and then very much loses interest.
Yes, 1-year-old. Remember that.
Yeah. So okay.
That will change.
But I'm in this place where I follow you, and I see some of the videos you guys post when you're out at stuff, and I remember the last few serious bands I was in were all cover bands. Yeah. I can't imagine doing it. Like I don't know what it is. I can't imagine going back to it. Now, I'm going to ask you this. Was there a break in between when you were like doing Reigning Lunatic? You weren't out there gigging.
Yes. That is to say, you are correct.
Okay. So how long was it in between, like, we'll say post podcast when you're gigging now to like beforehand?
Okay. I may have said some of this 7 years ago because the podcast thing came out of a, sort of late night conversation with myself where I said, the music never really took off. It never really landed. It didn't get me anywhere. And maybe there's something in that. And I started thinking about my father's retirement party, which was held where he worked, obviously, at a college in Connecticut. And a bunch of people commented about his voice, about how he spoke. Now, my dad had an accent. He was born in England, in Cambridge, England, and he sounded like sort of an educated professor type, right? Yeah. And he did, he had a nice voice, and people loved his accent. And everybody thought, he was a genius because he spoke with an accent, and people love English accents. But I was thinking about that. They all mentioned his voice and how he spoke. And people are always telling me, or have often told me throughout my life, oh, your voice is very soothing or whatever, very calm, soothing, so on. And I'm a person who sort of does funny voices anyway. Like I just kind of break into them, imitate people, whatever. I'm a mimic. And so I thought of all of those things and I thought, maybe I should concentrate on the voice. That was literally the conversation I had with myself that turned me into a podcaster. Because a friend of mine had mentioned podcasts. Oh, you should do podcasts. They'd be like, the tape letters you sent me in college. And I thought back to that and I thought, well, yeah, I could do that. I know how to put songs together and I know how sounds go together. And so I wrote the first sketch, like kind of on a whim, which was the walrus sketch. And I liked it. And I thought, hey, this is funny. And so it was sort of based on an old idea that I had with a guitarist friend in New York. And so that just kind of started it. And I had started listening to Kevin Pollak, Mark Maron and Doug Benson's podcast, because they had all started like a few months before. And so this was 2010, I started mine. And like, yeah, for the next 4 or 5 years, I did not really do music much.
So that
became my outlet. And I was all in for the Inverse Delirium part, which went for 3+ years. Then I was just so exhausted, I stopped. Then I did the Reigning Lunatic as a sort of really a treat for myself, not thinking, wow, I've built up this audience. I really shouldn't just go with some other project that has a new name. I lost all the steam of having an audience or whatever, but I had a lot of fun with it. But even then, I kind of ran out of steam again. And
so what brought you? I mean, obviously, yeah. I mean, obviously, Reigning Lunatic, had an end. And look, obviously, Inverse Delirium eventually had an end. But you started Reigning Lunatic as a miniseries,
yes,
and as someone with an ongoing show.
Yeah,
I envy like the miniseries, but obviously that ends. How soon? Like, do you take some time and go, hey, now what's next, and then pick up the bass again? Or
that's a good question. Okay, so what happened was the Reigning Lunatic was fun, but I was back in the cycle of like trying to find people to do voices for me and trying to publicize it and really starting from scratch, kind of, as far as building up
an audience
or what is this thing? And so I just stopped at number 9, and I was kind of up in the air for a bit. My wife and I were having dinner at a Mexican restaurant nearby, and talking to the host, we pointed at the stage and said, "Hey, did you have live music here? You have a little stage." And he said, "Oh no, we don't really do anything, and we're thinking about, I don't know." And my wife just piped up, "Would you have an open mic?" And, meaning like that. And I looked at her like, an open mic? And she said, "Yeah, you could host it." I was like, wait a minute, what? Now, I had hosted one like 10 years before, briefly. And it was kind of a wild experience because I thought it was too good for open mics. And hosting one, it's a totally different experience because all these people come and they're kind of your flock. You're trying to let them have a good experience. You're trying to help them and set them up with the mics or whatever the instrument they're using. That totally turned me around to seeing, it was kind of fun. Just the characters that came in, kind of like on a Cheers sort of level. The characters would wander into this place and want to sing a song or a couple. And so she must have thought of that, and she said, "Yeah, you could do it." And I said, "Well, yeah, but who says I want to?" But he was like up for it, and we started to talk, and it became a why not thing, Okay. So we started that. It was going really slow, but we met some people who were local, and I was playing guitar, but I was also playing bass on stage, and I would offer to play bass behind people because a lot of people just end up being guys with guitars.
Yes.
That's the open mic stereotype. It's often true. Gals with guitars will show up, usually less so. And then you get, maybe you get a banjo guy, you get a dulcimer woman, who knows, We had this, in the old thing, we had this wonderful old woman. She's like 80 or something, and she was tiny Jewish woman who would come and wanted to sing, "Hello, my baby, hello, my..." I mean, it was and I would play behind her because she didn't, she just came in. "Oh, what do you know? What can I sing?" So like, who didn't love that? I really, that brings you down to earth. And just, so the Mexican restaurant place, that went for a few months, but then we had to move because it wasn't doing well enough for them. And we moved down the street a block to a cafe that was opening up, and people started to come. And again, I was meeting local musicians and really having fun. And it kind of changed. There was a wonderful open jam thing. Now, I'm sorry, forgive me for going on at length, but I'll just keep going. As a younger, original musician, I had so many opinions, so many harsh, opinions about other musicians, as one does, I guess.
Yeah, well,
I hated cover
when
bands.
you're
I thought
younger,
yes,
everybody like you aren't out to make friends, right? Like when
yeah,
you're
no,
younger, everybody's competition. If they like him, they won't like me. If they buy his CD, they won't buy mine. Like it's very
yeah.
much a
Well,
me
no,
versus the world, right?
well, yes,
At that
and it
time.
was very much me, me. It was all about me and my stuff, and
So coming back to it, you lost a few of these preconceptions, these
yes,
notions.
the idea that cover bands were evil. It was the devil. It was these guys were posers. Blah blah blah. Although interestingly, I distinguished between cover bands and wedding bands because I knew that wedding bands were full of like jazz musicians who could play rings around most of us, right?
Okay.
Because that's the real deal. They get up there, they play a chart that maybe they've seen once, and it's got to come out perfect, right?
Yeah.
I'm a guy who picks up stuff really fast, even for musicians. Like
Okay.
within a song, I mean, and it is bass. I'm, this is not as hard as playing guitars and picking chords and stuff, but in a song, if we start playing something I don't know, probably by the end of the second verse, I know it.
Okay.
I'm playing and I finish well or whatever. So that's the kind of thing, I come from, I learned by ear. I don't read music, but I have this skill of picking stuff up quick. So that helped me out when I was playing behind people. I sort of know structures. I've written hundreds of songs back in the day. And so I know how songs kind of go, you know. And I've listened to so much music. I used to review albums. I probably told you that back in the day too. And so I found that it was really easy to play behind people and I enjoyed it. Back in the day, I was not somebody who like wanted to play along with other people. I just wanted to do my songs with my band and have them play what I told them to play.
Okay.
And here there was this open jam in a beautiful setting in this a place nearby that had this Victorian house they were playing selling crafts and stuff. And they had this little courtyard and it was all lit up with, Christmas lights and stuff. And one August they had an open jam every Friday for the month. And it was a true jam. And this was something, again, like cover bands. As a young person, I was anti-jam. I was I don't want to get together and hear 9 minutes of solos. I mean, that's how I thought of it, like the Grateful Dead kind of long soloing, kind of noodling kind of thing. I'm not big on that. But now, just getting up and playing a bunch of oldies, frankly, with a bunch of oldies like me, I'm getting to be an oldie and we keep saying, oh, but we feel young, but no, I look older than that. And yeah, it was just the best feeling. And so around that time, a friend asked me, somebody I'd met through these open mics, hey, I'm starting a Beatles band. Do you want to join? And I said, yes, of course. And that became a band. And interestingly, she ended up dropping out after she'd collected us together as a band. She decided, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of trying to get gigs and stuff. She didn't think things were going quick enough. And so the rest of us kind of went, oh, okay. Well, we'll keep going, I think. So we're a quartet. I play bass. We've got a guitar who does amazing leads and all the great leads he does so perfectly. It's like I always say to people, he's like a scientist, he's just like, he just stands there and he plays and it sounds great. And then our keyboardist plays guitar as well. So on certain songs, he's giving us that 2-guitar attack. He also plays melodica, which is a great element. Like he plays the sax part in Tequila on the melodica,
Yeah.
And people always perk up and look and like, what is that? Because it sounds sort of, is it a harmonica? But then they see he's playing this thing with a keyboard on it, and it's weird. And so that's that's the joy of it. We started playing, and people instantly were like, "Oh wow, this is great!" And of course, I realized they're responding to the music. It's not me necessarily, that's so great. It's the music that's so great. We're delivering this music. They enjoy it. I love playing it, and like they dance, which is something I always wanted to see. And so that's the happy ending.
That is a happy ending.
It's like I'm older and wiser, or I'm just older and I've shifted my thinking. I don't think the same way I used to about music. When I was busking in the Inner Harbor in Baltimore, it's around 2008, say, this was kind of before I finally just kind of decided I was going to quit the business. That's when I went into podcasting. I did notice, and I've noticed this before, that the best audiences are always little kids and old folks, because they don't have preconceived notions about what's good or not. They just respond to something that makes them move.
Okay.
And so if it sounds good, it's like, oh, okay, good. Now, people in their 20s, like we were talking about, you're so consumed with creating your identity and defining what you do like and why you don't like what you don't like, then, it's hopeless. You like what you like, and that's it. The 30s, you start to, maybe you've started to loosen up a little bit. 40s, it gets to be more amorphous. By this time, you've probably had kids, or maybe had kids, and you're listening to what they listen to. This will happen to you, by the way. I predict you will have years of Raffi and other children's music. I don't know what's popular, the Wiggles or whatever, whatever's popular now. And
there have already been playlists made, hopefully with They Might Be Giants heavy stuff, where it's like, this is something I already like, and I feel like even the adult stuff could work for kids.
Yeah. And the weird thing is but
I don't know. That's a hope, right? Like there's no guarantee that that's going to work. It could be like, I don't like this.
Oh no, totally.
Yeah.
And my son was not shy about saying he didn't like something. I mean, I'd have some music on in the car and he just said, God, Dad, you and your weird music, because
the only thing I can actually play on the guitar right now, or the riffs that I play, are some Dylan, some Tragically Hip, some Tom Petty, and some Creedence. This is where I'm at right now. So maybe noodling some Stairway. I'm not really good, but like enough. So
is that your main instrument? Because I see an orange amp back there.
I prefer bass. But I don't have an acoustic one, and so if I'm gonna play for the kid, it's pull out a guitar. And
I have an acoustic bass. I recommend it for bassists. It is great to play on your couch while watching TV. It's just the best.
So I always pick them up, but like I'll go to Guitar Center with my dad and we'll like noodle around on stuff, and I always pick up the acoustic basses. Yeah. And I still, in my heart, and I know this doesn't solve the issue that an acoustic bass like you're talking about would, there is still a part of me that wants one of those minimalist cellos or the minimalist upright basses where but again, the problem is you need an amp, you need you need headphones, you need you're not going to just noodle with that on the couch. That's the same as me picking up one of the basses behind me and doing the same thing. You need the acoustic nature of it. And of course, I'm not going to go out and buy a full upright bass. I don't have that kind of space, but I always like the idea of playing one and buying the minimalist one. However, it's cheaper to come back to just buy an acoustic bass.
It would be, yes. I admire that because I am somebody who is so intimidated by the upright that I just don't even approach it. I mean, every once in a while in a store, my wife will say, "Oh, look, the big upright," or one of the, like you say, the thin line ones or whatever you call them. And I pluck at it and I think, no, the action's crazy. I don't understand it.
Yeah, no, my fascination started in high school while I didn't play the cello in the band or anything like that. I was still at that point a tenor saxophone who enjoyed playing bass and guitar on the weekend, so to speak.
Cool. Yeah.
But we had a cello or an upright bass. I don't actually remember which it was, that no one used in storage. And so occasionally, being the band geek that would just hang out, I would just noodle around on it when I was hanging out in the band room.
Is a cello really tuned like a bass guitar?
I mean, then it must have been an upright bass because I was able to play it without really messing around, so to speak.
Okay.
But that was where, but I had no stakes, right? I was me in a big closet just noodling around. And so it was like, this always felt like a lot of fun. Now, granted, at that time, I was playing a lot of bass. I was practicing in cover bands, and we were going to, eventually write our own stuff. And so my fingers were a lot stronger. So even the heavy action on an upright bass, maybe not as much as a cello, but definitely more than, say, my Fender P bass back there. My fingers could easily do it. I think now there would be a lot of exercising.
No, it's so, well, it's like, it's just an area I've never really seriously thought about going, because I did have a fretless, like, back before 2010 that I liked playing, but I didn't play it enough to sort of really get the hang of it, and then I sold it. And
so let me ask, why bass? Like, obviously when you're busking, you're probably playing acoustic guitar?
Yes.
Okay, so where's bass come in?
Acoustic was my first instrument, acoustic 6-string guitar. And bass came in because I started high school and I met like one of the rock musicians who was doing a band, because anyway, long story short, I ended up buying his bass because he was borrowing it from somebody who had stolen it out of the back of a van in New York. And this was the story that I got. So it was like, do you want to buy it for like $200? And like, it was a Rickenbacker bass. So it looked the part, and it was like, it was really clunky and it was heavy as hell. But that was the reason I became a bass player, because a bass became available.
Okay.
And I reasoned that I was always seeing in, like guitarists wanted or musicians wanted ads, lots of guitarists, not a lot of bassists. So I figured that they'd be more in demand, than guitarists, which are sort of, we're a dime a dozen. I am a guitarist. So I started doing that and I just liked it. And I never had a real problem with, after the first, couple months, and I started to get used to it and started playing with my friends, I didn't have a trouble that a lot of bassists do or seem to, that with singing and playing bass at the same time, because of the rhythmic, aspect. You're often playing parts sort of counter to what you're singing. Yeah, rhythmically, they're different, and so maybe if you're playing guitar, you're strumming, that's easier. Whatever the reason, some bassists just find it.
Now I'm going to have to think about, so I've only ever sung like the very minimalist of backup occasionally, but I've never, I've sung while playing guitar. Mm-hmm. I genuinely can't remember if I've ever sang like a song while playing bass. Mm-hmm. I may have to try it.
It's not surprising. I mean, like I say, it seems a lot of bassists do have an issue with that. And I now that I'm playing McCartney lines while singing Beatles songs, I am realizing that, it is a skill, because his parts, some of them are so wild and sort of all over the place. And that took some learning. When I started with this Beatles project, I knew how to play most of the songs already, but on guitar. Okay. And so I hadn't played Beatles songs on bass since high school. And once I started learning them, I was realizing that it is a challenge. I did have to work to, first play the part enough to feel comfortable with it, then start singing over it. I don't have to be perfect on one to get to the other, but I did have to prepare. I did a lot of practicing. I did like 3 months of practicing Beatles stuff, figuring out, and my voice was coming back too. I had pneumonia I don't know if you knew about that.
I think I did. I think we caught it through some of the emails back and forth. Okay. Because we have stayed in touch. We just haven't.
Yeah, no, talked. It's been a while. Yeah, I don't remember when. Yeah. So that happens basically just before the pandemic. I had pneumonia, almost kicked the bucket. I was in the ICU, blah, blah, blah. And so I came out of that, and then I got it again, which happens a lot. And so years went by, we were at COVID, blah, blah, blah. We're going on and on. And I was singing music. But once I got into the Beatles thing, I realized my range is not what it used to be. I'd lost like 4 or 5 notes or something. That over the last 2 years, I've slowly expanded my range up, like one note at a time. So I can do some of the parts that I couldn't do like 2 years ago. I'm singing much more easily.
So here's my question to you, which is, I've already mentioned a few other, so you clearly play more than just Beatles. You're not only Beatles.
Oh yeah.
And so you're playing to move the audience. So you're playing, I don't want to sound cliche, but I guess you're playing the hits.
Oh yeah. I am in an oldies band. I joke about this being the equivalent of like when I was a kid, when my wife and I were kids, it would have been, the Guy Lombardo Orchestra or Duke Ellington, Cab Calloway, not Cab Calloway, Count Basie Orchestra.
Well,
they were on the road into their 80s and 90s, and that would have been around when I was a kid.
And you're playing, if I can say this, I feel comfortable saying this. You're playing the new standards, right? Like, what were standards even for you and me, like maybe 20, 30 years ago? I feel like the Beatles and some Stones stuff has like kind of creeped in to be like, these are the new standards.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. The whole what I'm talking about is like the end of the sort of the jazz orchestra era, and that kind of sort of pre-rock pop, which continued. You had Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra singing into the 70s.
I think they were still performing into the 80s.
Yeah,
as long as
Bennett too,
they were basically going as long as they were alive.
Yeah, but the audience is shrinking. It's getting more specialized.
Specialized.
And somebody like Tony Bennett. I remember when I was in New York, and I was struggling to try to be in a band and playing at the clubs in the East Village and stuff. I remember Tony Bennett playing this shitty place on Houston Street. I think it was downtown. No, it wasn't there, but it was not a great spot, right? But he was doing a very brilliant thing. He was doing a comeback, and he was starting small, and it took off. I mean, it got great press. And suddenly he's on the map again. Tony Bennett. Young people are going to see Tony. I mean, this happens with older artists sometimes. They get a boost, and then it sort of revives things, and then people are paying attention again, and they're realizing, oh God, this guy's great. He was always great.
Yeah.
And then so that goes on, and his career just took a whole new turn, and ended up with lots of collaborations, and then the Lady Gaga thing, just incredible. I mean, he's one of the greats who sort of rode out, almost, I don't want to say the death of, but the decline of his art form.
Well, you say that.
I mean, decline in terms of not in terms of its quality,
but popularity,
or value, but sheer popularity.
But so my third musical journey includes 2 guys who are basically bringing that back in Rod Stewart and Van Morrison, guys who were clearly were rock stars at one point in their career that are now. And look, I'm still in the 70s in this journey, so I listen to my favorite Rod Stewart album, Every Picture Tells a Story, and 2 of my favorite Van Morrisons were recently in Moondance and Tupelo Honey. But when I was putting the journey together, I'm like, wait. You're telling me that Rod Stewart and Van Morrison have been putting out like 1 or 2 albums every few years up until this year. It's and they're doing it. It feels like they're doing more. They're going back and they're doing their standards and the stuff that they grew up on for new audiences. That I just go like, oh my, like I get it. Like if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
But these guys don't have to record, which is that's the thing that boggles my mind.
Mm-hmm.
These are two names. These are guys that, and I don't know what they did in the 80s necessarily. I mean, I know a little bit of what Rod did in the 80s, but from the 90s and the early aughts and even now, I when I get to that part of my journey this time around, it's all going to be new to me. But they could have just toured, stopping anywhere from 1970 or 75 or 80 or 85. They could have stopped and just toured. They didn't have to record. They didn't have to make new stuff or re-record old stuff. And so there's a part of me that goes like, I'm very curious to see what any of this means. Like, what is this really?
Well, Rod Stewart is like a perfect example of a career path in professional music, you know, because he basically, in the 80s, I think, or was it the 90s, he did the songbook move.
Oh, yeah.
This is something that people have been doing. You know, Ella Fitzgerald famously, like, just put a buzz in her career by recording, like, the Cole Porter songbook album, whatever the first one was. I don't know if it was Cole Porter, but she started doing classics by the great composers, great songwriters, and they took off like hotcakes. They were great sellers. So as time's gone on, you get Rod Stewart. This happens with lots of artists. I mean, Linda Ronstadt too. Yeah. Somebody who conquered pop and rock music. And really, you know, at a certain point, she was kind of getting aged out in the 80s. She was still getting hit singles, but she didn't get the kind of attention she used to. And that's when she started doing stuff like Trio with Emmylou Harris and Dolly Parton because they wanted to. Yeah. And then she did the Canciones album, the Mexican songs of her father, because she wanted to. Nobody wanted them to do this. Nobody wanted her to do the Mexican album, especially. The Dolly Parton, Emmylou Harris, that makes commercial sense, even if it's weird that they're just doing little bluegrass songs or whatever. That took off. But Canciones was something that she actively had to say, no, I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. They were like, this is not going to work. Your audience is not going to like it. And it was the biggest selling, it maybe still is the biggest selling Spanish music album in the States, I think, ever. And then she went on to do Nelson Riddle classics, like we're talking about with Rod Stewart. He did the songbooks. He started to do songbooks, revived his career. It's the kind of thing that just makes sense, because at a certain point, what are you going to do? You've been recording for 20 years. Yeah. And like, maybe I just want to do a blues album or something. Or maybe I used to look at this cynically and saying, oh, now they're doing the blues album. Like, oh, now I'm getting back to my roots. It's the blues album I'm going to do. Pat Benatar did one with her husband. And I was all snotty about it. But no, it's like she's proved her point. Yeah. Linda Ronstadt proved her point. Van Morrison proved his point. Yeah. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. Yeah, no, why not?
I remember. Like, I don't know what year it was. Aerosmith did "Honkin' on Bobo," which was they
did a blues album,
basically, and I loved it, but it very much was, all right, this is our thing. But that's after they've come back from the dead twice. Again, they have. You're right. Yeah. It's this point where we've got nothing left to prove. If we're going to record an album, and I think some of that stuff was still in the studio days where like you owe us an album. Well, we'll just put it, we're just going to give you what we want to do.
Yeah. And the other part of it is business. I mean, you ask, why would they do an album, or why keep doing albums? I mean, McCartney still does albums. Well, nobody's listening to him. I mean, not a lot of people are listening to him. I don't want to dismiss or sound dismissive of the music, but he's going to keep doing albums until he dies, because that's just who he is.
So Dylan's the same way, I would say.
Yeah.
Although, there is
Oh, but wait, just to finish my point. Yeah. But like a Van Morrison, yes, they've proved their point. Yes, now they've done an oldies album. Yes, it's 5 years in. Do they really need to put an album out? No, but commercially, it gives them a story. It gives them something to go and to the press and say, hey, it's my first album in 5 years. Here's something I can talk to you about. Yeah. It gives the press something to talk to him about. It gives him an opportunity to go on talk shows and say, I mean,
I get as long as he enjoys the touring aspect, if recording an album every 2 years, 3 years helps them to stay on the road, then
it's just part of the grind, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, more power to him, I guess. So does this mean that, you know, if anybody's in the Baltimore area, we'll find you playing bass as 80s? Long as you possibly can?
Well, first off, I don't know that about 80.
But as long as you can, I guess.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, I've been thinking about that recently because our band is in this weird sort of state where both the drummer and the guitarist are in other bands, and the guitarist plays quite a lot already with his main band. You know, this is common, as you know, in sort of local music scenes. The typical stereotype of drummers are in 7 bands, usually. That can also be true of bassists and whatever. I was thinking about it. I'm in this band. I'm 62. You know, maybe this band is going to last for a while, but, you know, as you age, you start to kind of consider the possibility that one of us is, you know, going to have a health issue or whatever. And, you know, that's just real life. And it gets more common as we get older. And I was thinking, what would I do? Because one band that I did play bass with, it sort of started my playing in bands again, which I hadn't done. They have now moved on. And so they were providing a gig every month or two for me in addition to what I was doing. So now I'm only doing the Bulldog band, Hey Bulldog. And I was thinking, well, what happens if this, you know, has to go because we just can't keep it going? What would I want to do? Would I want to go back to playing like open mic-y, kind of acoustic guitar, play my songs? Or would I want to join another band of geezers and, you know, try and go back into the grind?
Can I give you a third option?
Oh, what's that?
Bring back the Reigning Lunatic.
I'll only say that it recently occurred to me I've had this fantasy of turning the Reigning Lunatic into a cartoon of like somebody, but, you know, doing a cartoon based on, you know, using my podcast as a soundtrack, basically, with all the voices already there. And with some of the new software that's out, you can create stuff based on, you know, I'm a terrible like artist. I can't draw very well. And
don't worry, I'll find one for you. It's all right.
Oh, I'm not pitching it. I'm just saying that
I know.
This was an idea of like, if I got Beyond software or something and just tried to make a set and have the people talk to each other in sync with the show, you know, and then that leads to the thing of, well, would I do another one? At least now I'm open to the possibility, maybe after I stop working.
But I mean, I guess the thing would be
years away.
The real question would be, given and we've talked mainly about music this time, only because the last time you were on, we talked mainly about the Reigning Lunatic, and I don't mind forcing people to go back and listen to episode 7, but I ask because we've established your love of both clearly. So now, if something were to go away, you're on the other side now. So would it be music is. Obviously, there's a live performance that you're not going to get out of the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to think about going back to trying to do one because nobody really knows about Reigning Lunatic itself. So coming back and saying, hey, I've come back, nobody will. Who were you in the
No,
first
no,
place?
it's fair. Look, there's a lot from our circle that have I didn't know I'd ever outlast people. Okay, so
I was going to ask, are you still in touch with the Jason Gingers?
I'm still in touch with them, but they're not. That most of that crew is not podcasting anymore.
Really?
So to the same extent, if any of them came back, it would be, hey, we're back. And again, outside of, maybe people still being subscribed to feeds that people were paying for, it would be like, oh, good, you're back. We didn't. Who are you?
Yeah.
That's not new. But I feel like having just from this conversation, there is going to be, you still need to get out there. I don't know that even if you could find a suitable way to get out a new story, you want to perform. You're really enjoying that gig nature.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yes. You're onto something. I'm afraid you're wrong that even if a band dries up, that I wouldn't then think, oh, well, maybe I'll do a podcast. And I haven't looked at the scripts in years. I mean, as I told you, I did have scripts for 10 through 14 or 15, I think. And so like 4 or 5 shows and maybe ideas for another 1 or 2. And I know that I liked 1 or 2 of the ideas a lot, and I wanted to do them. One of them was about a ghost haunting part of the castle, and one of was.
Well, let's put it this way: I wouldn't say no to producing and editing it for you.
Oh no, that is very generous, but I could never let go of the editing. That is my primary talent. I realize in all of it, I'm a good editor. That's, it's true with video too. It's like, I realize that I know how things should go, and I don't know what that skill is. Maybe
you're a storyteller. I mean, it really is. You're a storyteller.
But even more than that, I'm a story improver.
Okay.
Because I can do it with other people's stuff. I can see, oh no, you need to cut this. You need to work this. This is funny. Do more of this. I mean, I remember speeches I've given to people where I've told them how to improve their work. I've done so much editing in my life that it comes in handy as a skill. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. I need to do better and not email you once every 2 years. I feel
no.
You've
been busy, my friend.
Yeah. And next time I'm in the area, we have to have a meal.
Sure, no problem. You're where again?
I'm just a few hours north of you.
Yeah. Come on down anytime if you like that.
I don't disagree with Geoffrey that the best audiences are little kids and old folks, but it has been sitting with me since he said it on and off, because how can we as anyone in between those age ranges be better audiences? And not just for music. In a world where hot takes are mostly just clickbait and an honest opinion is likely only to be found in person from a friend and rarely in any online arena, how can we ensure we are coming at the world, but let's just narrow the scope down to entertainment, with open eyes? True open eyes. Little kids don't have those preconceived notions. Old folks just don't care. I'm sure those of us in the middle may not be able to shed those notions once we have them, but we can stop caring about those notions and just be more open. This podcast and the guests I talk with often encourage myself and you, the listeners, to be open to things, usually opportunities. But we should be open to movies, music, and books. We should be open to art. I don't know that there's any more to say on the matter, except for this. And perhaps this is self-serving, but you can get reviews and suggestions from the internet. My blog is full of them, but you must consider the source. My blog is full of mostly positive reviews and suggestions. If I have a very strong negative opinion, I will share it, but most of the time, I just don't write about it. If your internet sources are mostly negative or even 50-50 negative positive, get new internet sources. Even a 50-50 split is much too negative. At that point, you have to ask, why are they doing it? And if that's the case, find new sources. And in the meantime, go back and listen to the Reigning Lunatic. For those of you in the Baltimore area, be on the lookout for Geoffrey on his bass with Hey Bulldog. Thanks for listening to The Palmer Files, episode 179. And now for the official business. The Palmer Files releases every 2 weeks on Tuesdays. If you're still listening, I encourage you to join the discussion. You can find all related ways to contact Geoffrey or myself in the show notes. You can find links to The Reigning Lunatic, Geoffrey's previous episode, and my review of The Reigning Lunatic in the show notes. The music for this episode was provided by Henno Heiter. Email and comments can be sent to this show at thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. And remember, your home for all things Agent Palmer is agentpalmer.com. All right, sire, do you have one final question for me?
I do. I want to know about what you've been doing over the last few years, including your child.
So we sped run, the life stuff, right? Obviously we didn't wait. She moved in from across the country, pre-COVID. And then, we lived in sin for, through a pandemic. Oh, the horror. Okay. And then, we decided to try and have a child. And then at some point, we decided to get married. I say it this way because it was fairly unromantic, and I probably could have done better. But at some point, I think we just started talking and well, maybe now's the time.
Yeah. That's not so. I mean, don't kick yourself for that, because I remember a time when I was 26 and I thought, it's probably about time I get settled down. I mean, there is a time in your 20s when you notice everybody's already kind of hooked up and you're kind of hanging out, and you get this feeling that geez, maybe I should really. Maybe it's 30s.
I was going to say it didn't happen to us until our 30s. No,
that's true. Things have changed. So generationally,
let's see. We got married, and then 6 months later, the kid came along, and nothing.
When was the marriage?
That was in October of 25.
5?
No, 4. Okay. No, 4. October of 24. Because the kid was born in 25 and it's now 26.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say we speed ran it, because it went marriage 6 months later, we're changing diapers.
Yeah.
And now we're off and running.
But you'd already got that good foundation of being together and working out how, whose toothbrushes where. And
Yep. No, that we done. And so the rest of it has been a very weird mishmash of, how, so I was, before the wedding and after the wedding, but specifically before Steph got pregnant, I was underemployed. I'm still kind of underemployed. I edit podcasts, a few podcasts for money right now.
Yeah.
And that's a decent part-time job, which allows me to be a stay-at-home dad. But before I was a stay-at-home dad, I was a podcast producer and editor, and someone whose other job was trying to maintain the sanity of my wife and my best friends, all 3 of whom were overworked.
Oh, now what did she do? I've forgotten.
She works, for all intents and purposes, she's in relocation, and she's worked from home since she moved in. Right. So even before everything shut down, she worked from home. So she maintained her job when she moved across the country.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
she's
amazing.
always, so when everything shut down and people were working from home, she got a lot of calls about like, how do you do this? Because she was already doing it.
Yeah.
But I was in this position where like, all right, I love my friends. I love my now wife. I loved her then. And it was like, I'm the one who's like, okay, it's time to stop working. And most of this was a post-COVID thing because a lot of people, when I was still full-time employed, I would come home and that would kind of be the signal for Steph to be like, all right, if I'm not stopped by now, I need to stop soon. But when I'm home all the time, there's no, there's nothing there. Right. There's no real meat to like the bell of like whatever. And so she was overworked and my other friends were becoming overworked. And I was doing sanity checks on everybody. I'd bother Steph in the middle of the day when she wasn't on a call and be like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? And I'd call my friends up. One of them would pick up all the time. One of them was very anti-phone when he was at work. But I'd still check in these mental health checks, which I'm still doing even with a child. It's just not as regular. And so that's kind of been it where it's like, all right, I'm maintaining my own projects and trying to keep everything going. The blog still hasn't missed a Thursday in years at this point. I think I don't know what my streak is up to, but it's pre-pandemic, pre-pandemic. Which, in a weird way, yes, we have a 1-year-old as we're recording. We'll have an 18-month-old by the time this releases. But at the same time,
you've got that many stacked up?
Well, so this is, I mean, well, but I'm every other week. Okay. So it's only half as good as you think it is.
I was too. I mean, that's
okay.
That was my brilliant idea. But even then I got back.
But the thing about it is the blog and the podcast are enough. Like it's 6 pieces of stuff I have to work on in the course of whatever. And while that's going on, I'm trying to maintain, this is the thing. Podcasting gave me a wife and a kid and a lot of wonderful friends, you included, but everybody's scattered to the wind. So without a phone or an email, I'm not connected in a way where like I can walk to your house and knock on the door. So I became all right, I'm calling everyone or I'm texting or I'm just trying to make sure I put in, I know that I have the ability to talk on the phone and it's not for everybody. Right. Yeah. And I know that I have the ability to check in, which is also not for everybody. Yeah. So what have I been, maybe more so, there's still a lot of napping going on. Right.
Yes.
And luckily the kid sleeps through the night. So I have the ability to check in. And while time zones suck for my West Coast friends, sometimes I'll send an email or leave a text and the response will come when I wake up. And that we all understand how that works, but that's been it. I've been trying to, sometimes in order to talk to somebody, I have to schedule them to be on the show. And sometimes it's just, we're going to play phone tag for 6 months and eventually we'll hook up. But for me, that's really been it. Like Steph and I, before the pandemic and even during, because we had a slightly big circle, but especially after, started trying to host a dinner once a month. Because I still am riddled with anxiety. I won't call it social. Sometimes it manifests in that way, but just generalized, hey, this could be debilitating sometimes. Yeah. But if I'm hosting, I can get through, like if it's a comfortable place, whatever, and we wanted to be more sociable. So we started inviting once a month. Now we've fallen off. We have a child and, we don't want to, we're in a rhythm and, hopefully we'll be able to kick that up again. But I've basically turned into, in a weird way, my grandparents, where they would host people. I know they would host people for dinners. They would do elaborate dinners with multiple couples. We're having like maybe one or two couples over. And the rest of it is a phone relationship with people because we don't travel as much. And so, but I'm happy about it. I'm not necessarily the hub, you know, because it's different circles. So yes, there's the old podcasting circle that I'm socially kind of talking to, some more than others. And yes, sometimes depending on who I'm talking to, it's like, oh, hey, how's Bill? How's Grant? How's Jay?
Yeah, Grant.
But there's other people where it's like, oh, how's so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. And I don't mind that. I just want to put out the effort because I don't want, maybe the circle's gone and it's just me having 5 different relationships, but I don't want to let them fall. And so really, aside from being a husband and a father and an editor and a podcaster and blogger, that's a lot of my energy and time is trying to be like, all right, I don't have a schedule. It's not written down, but a lot of energy is put into, I haven't talked to Geoffrey in a while. I should email him now. Like, you know what I mean? Or like write it down and do it within 48 hours so I don't forget. And it doesn't wait another 6 months or whatever. And that's really where I've been spending a lot of my time because I feel like that's the best place I can put it.
Well, it's awesome. It makes you a bridge, as a friend of ours describes herself, actually. She was somebody through whom, like we met her when I was doing the podcast, Dakini. Hey, when I was doing the podcast, I went to Center Stage, a big theater in downtown.
Okay.
They have this thing that's like the Moth. They call this the Stoop.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, people telling stories in front of an audience.
Yeah.
And I talked about the podcast because I was trying to drum up, you know, interest and stuff. And I met her and we started to hang out, and she's an old hippie and she's great. And we would start to get together, my wife and I with her, and just hang out and sing songs and stuff. And through her, we met other sort of musically inclined people who have become great friends. So we became sort of friends through her with other musicians. Then when I did did the open mic, because Betty was like co-host. She was the public face and friendly person who said, hey, come sign up. Welcome, you know. So doing the open mic, we met a whole new group of friends. And they were also local and musical. So we knew different groups of musicians who we started to bring together. Okay. And so it's like everybody, you know, we're all sort of, you know, I've never been in a community this long, and I've never been in a city. God, you know, this is the place I've lived the longest. Okay. The house we moved, as I think I told you, to a house was it 2 years now? But we're basically in the same kind of neighborhood. So, you know, maintaining these relationships was important to us, and being part of different circles, like you're talking about, you know, different groups, you know, you're the bridge or the link, or really they're your circles, you know? And so even if they're not connected, they are through you. And in a weird way, things can circle back where you end up meeting people who knew other people you knew, or whatever it is, you know, especially with like, I mean, it's hilarious. It's Stephanie, you guys are like the total success story of kind of the gang, I think, you know, getting together, getting married, having a kid. God, yeah. Well, now with the podcasting, is the work drying up? Is it because more people already knew no,
it's really just finding a podcast that's making enough money to pay me.
Gotcha.
Is a bit and you know, I've hitched my wagon to some guys that really kind of know what they're doing, or at least they're willing to try a lot of different things. And so we've had sponsors for the show, and there's been money coming in. We might not be at a plus, and I'm probably in editing and producing their biggest expense, but I don't think they're losing. If they are losing money, they're not losing a ton, and we're probably close to breaking even, give or take. And so that's really the key, is like, I mean, I talk to, when you talk about those circles, I talk to a lot of people that are like, with your skills, you should be making more money. It's like, well, there's the opportunities are there to do stuff, but the opportunities to make money are not there. And so there's that weird kind of thing. And, I'm in this weird place because my skill set, and look, I've delved into video loosely, but my skill set is I can make your audio sound really good.
Yeah.
If you want me to do video at the same quality, I need so much B-roll. I need to be able to cover so many cuts that we can't just do two talking heads, or I have to lower my quality standards. Because if you look at one of my edits, whether it's for money or for myself, I would make people throw up if they had to watch video that were that many jump cuts, like in that way. Now, you don't notice them. That's the brilliance of being good at what we do as editors.
Right.
But it means that I thrive in an audio-only place where my only cover is, does it sound good?
I mean, that's ultimately that's my home base is audio. I do like I just put a video together of, sort of pond 5 clips of rivers for a song that I recorded, an old song I wrote called The River.
I really liked it, by the way.
And thanks. That's nice of you. And so
that's how I build my stuff, by the way. I'm using Pexels right now. And it's just how much, without paying any money, how good of a video can I make with other people's free stock?
Yeah. Yeah. The stuff, I mean, we occasionally do a shoot at work, like at the office. I mean, I'm full-time home, but I will go in, we do a video shoot. Basically, the great thing is I have a photographer on our team, and he's got the video equipment and the knowledge visually, setting up with lighting. So when I was doing it myself, I was doing one-stop shop stuff where I was recording video, directing actors or talent or whatever, and doing audio at the same time. And you know how crazy that can be.
Yep.
And so just being able to concentrate on audio and directing, which is what I'm also good at, because I'm good at helping people through stuff and trying to make them sound, make them as relaxed as possible, try and make them sound comfortable.
So I've, I can say this, can put myself on the fire, right? A friend of mine put out a book a long time ago, a book of poetry. We're still working on book 2 as we record this. Maybe by the time it releases, book 2 will be out. It's been in the work. Book 2 has been in the works since before COVID. But one of the poems in the first book is basically about a hot pocket. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
Right. And I said I'd like to get, I want to work more in video. I need videos to work on. So I'm gonna shoot this with all of our cameras for multi-shot and whatever, and I'm going to then edit it together. I had him come over and read the poem, so it's not like I have to line up thing. I can, as we sit and record right now, the only thing I've done is I took all my footage a year and a half ago. I took all my footage and put it in the order where it belongs. And then I need obviously some stock and B-roll in for cutaways and stuff. And I have not gone back to that project in at least a year. Now, I could say, yes, we had a baby, but I had plenty of time because we shot it like 2.5, 3 years ago, right? Like I had plenty of time. And I think part of it is having put it all together once. I know where I screwed up in the principal photography, which, by the way, was in my old kitchen because I had I had some stuff die where reshoots are now impossible unless I just reshoot it all. So I have to.
I see.
But some of it is like, I got a new stove since then. That's how long it's been. But I do feel like, all right, it's time to either reshoot it or do it. But all of that is to say, I really don't know what I'm like. I'm good when you give me this stuff. Let the getting of it be. I might be able to direct, but I can't also shoot and light. It's a maybe if I did it on a regular basis and I can build up the skill set. But as I'm sitting here right now, like wanting a project to work video on, I should have somebody give it to me. Not, I'm going to go shoot it. Like
I totally relate to that because like I said, I'm much better with audio, and I'm really a good video editor. Shooting is fun and interesting and stuff, but I learned enough about lighting to know I don't know enough about lighting, that I know a little bit, and I can like look and say, okay, that works because X. It's got your backlit, you got your, angled here, and you've got less here, and little contour or whatever, little depth, but setting it up and then thinking about audio and all that stuff is too crazy.
We just need to find that bridge for us, and then
find
that project, and we'll be be famous in other ways.
If you ever got hooked up with a horror movie or something, I love horror movies.
All right. Well, that'll be my homework.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So I thank you for answering my questions.